Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, you brought us something really interesting today. We're looking at Texit Coin through the source material you shared. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive is really to pull out the key nuggets on risks, rewards, and the truth about crypto investing.
hmm
And specifically, how that applies to Texit Coin using the source. Excerpts from Texit Coin, Perils and Promise in Crypto Investing. It really feels like it guides us on the need for honesty about volatility and risks, but also how it frames those potential rewards for Texit Coin holders. It's that balancing act.
What's fascinating here is right from the start how the source sets up this fundamental way to think about crypto. It talks about perils, the real risks, and it doesn't hide them. But then there's the promise, the potential value. For something like Texacoin, understanding that contrast, and maybe more importantly, how they communicate both sides. Well, that's not just useful, it's absolutely vital if you're trying to figure out this space. We'll really dig into that communication piece.
Yeah, it jumps right in, doesn't it? That section, the truth about crypto investing, it says pretty directly, be unflinchingly honest about market volatility and inherent risks, while strategically framing the genuine potential rewards for Texit Coin holders. It's very upfront about that dual need.
Precisely. And unflinchingly honest, that's strong language. It's not just a quick mention of risk. For Texit Coin, the source suggests this means being clear about, say, maybe its smaller market cap compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum, which means bigger price swings. Or being transparent about potential smart contract issues, maybe suggesting regular security audits, and talking openly about any regulatory gray areas. That's what it seems to mean by the truth. It's the foundation.
Right, so it's not just a generic warning label. It's more like a specific communication strategy focused on building trust through detailed honesty, like saying, okay, here are the specific challenges Texit Coin faces. But then it shifts to strategically framing potential rewards. That word framing catches my eye. How does it suggest Texit Coin presents that upside without, sounding like pure hype?
That's where let's say, the careful approach comes in. Strategically framing isn't about wild speculation. The source seems to outline a few ways for Texit Coin. First, connect rewards to the coin's actual use. So if it's for microtransactions in an app, the reward is maybe lower fees or faster speeds for that specific purpose. Or maybe it's role in governance. Second, it emphasizes focusing on things you can verify, like project milestones that have actually been hit, a successful test net, real developer activity, growing user numbers, things like that. It's about showing real progress, not just making vague promises about the future.
Okay, that makes sense. Grounding the promise in actual utility or achievements, not just hope. So if Texit Coin had, say, a unique way of reaching consensus, the source would advise framing the reward as maybe better speed or energy use with data to back it up, rather than just saying, it's going to the moon.
Exactly, backed by evidence.
But this push for being so honest about risks, that feels challenging, especially in crypto where hype can drive so much. Does the source acknowledge that tension between being totally upfront and still needing to attract people to a newer project like Texit Coin?
It does, implicitly at least. The source seems to argue that the credibility you gain from that upfront honesty, that actually attracts better, more serious long-term investment. By clearly stating risks, maybe dependence on a small dev team or liquidity issues common with new coins, Texit Coin might filter for investors who understand those risks. It suggests that chasing short-term hype with big claims often backfires, damaging the project's reputation down the line. So in this view, the truth isn't a drawback, it's actually a filter. It helps attract the right kind of holder.
Huh. That's a really interesting take. Transparency as a strength, almost a competitive edge. It feels a bit counterintuitive sometimes with all the FOMO out there. So for you, our listener, what does this all mean? Wrapping up what we've pulled from this source on Texit Coin, the core idea seems pretty clear. Talking about crypto investments, including Texit Coin, has to involve being really straight about the volatility and the risks, while also being very precise and verifiable about the potential upsides for people holding the coin. It's about crafting a balanced, believable story, not just a sales pitch, right? And understanding how Texit Coin is advised to communicate risk and rewards, that can be super helpful for you. It gives you a kind of framework, a lens to look at how information is presented for any digital asset, helps you see past the noise.
This raises an important question, definitely. The approach outlined in the source for Texit Coin, this whole idea of presenting the truth about crypto investing by balancing the perils and the promise. That's not just a specific instruction for one coin, is it? It feels more like a basic principle for looking at any investment. So, how does this deep dive into how Texit Coin might communicate its risks and rewards? How does that change your approach? How does it help you critically assess any new investment info you come across? To make sure you're always pushing to see the full, honest picture, even if it's not immediately obvious. Something to think about.